Good evening. Thank you for taking time out to be part of this special town hall on Haiti's crises. I used the plural there because I think we all recognize that there are a variety of crises that the people of Haiti, both within the country itself and those dispersed, are suffering and have been suffering for much of their history. So let us pray. Merciful God, we ask you to pour your heart upon the people of Haiti, both those in Haiti and those dispersed in different parts of the world, including those many dispersed to the United States, who have suffered for hundreds of years from the effects of colonialism and imposed poverty and injustices, who have suffered from the devastation of earthquakes, hurricanes, fires, deforestation, floods, who have suffered from immense poverty. And we ask you to give us eyes that see and ears that hear and hearts that understand. Open our minds to see your movement at work in our relationship and understanding of this island nation and its people. Give us wisdom this night to hear from one another so that we might respond as you would have us do and to your honor and glory. And this we ask in Christ's most holy name. Okay. Good evening again. Let's start out. Father Robin Pierre and Canon Andy Moore, would you like to give us some opening thoughts?
You're muted, Father Andy.
I know, sorry about that. Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry, we're getting some feedback here. Welcome one and all, and I initially want to say thank you to Bishop Stokes, Bishop Chip, who has really been a tremendous leader in the midst of all the crises that we have been facing in the diocese, from COVID to the numerous fallout effects of that, to the many challenges we have faced in the civil rights front, in the fallout of the George Floyd horrible murder and all its ill effects. And now he's here with us, guiding us through another crisis that has broken upon us, that of the Haitian migrant crisis, which is only the latest wave of a series of tremendous trauma that the Haitian community has faced for over 200 years. Our present thoughts tonight, however, is to bring us up to speed on where we are as a diocese in response to the numerous challenges that we have been facing. It goes back to our first response to that of the earthquake, the most recent earthquake that struck Cap Haitian in Haiti, that brought death and destruction to thousands of lives. And it was a community that was already facing numerous challenges. As a diocese, we were able to respond through the Haitian ministries, which is part of our New Jersey Urban Revitalization Task Force. And we were able to pull together enough resources, thanks to the leadership again of Bishop Chip and many other parishes who opened their pockets and opened their hearts and shared out of the little they may have had, so that we were able to provide relief efforts to those in Haiti. I must tell you, before we get too deep into it, and you will hear a little bit more on this from one of our guest speakers, Mr. Stan Neuron, Stan doesn't have the link, that we have been extremely careful in the way how we guide our response to that crisis. This came about from what we have learned from the previous earthquake, where sadly, in the midst of the urgency to respond to the various needs of that nation, governments and NGOs flooded the nation of Haiti with promises, a lot of them which remain as empty promises, and flooded them with ill-conceived ideas. And of course, they meant well, but definitely ill-conceived ideas of how best to respond to the needs of that community. One of the outstanding ones I would share is that of food. Many NGOs flooded the nation of Haiti with cheap agricultural products. And by doing that, they totally destroyed the agriculture, the fledgling agricultural industry in that island nation. This led to internal migration where most of the farmers who were living out in the country areas, having little or no subsistence, had to move and dwell in the cities of Cap-Haïtien again and Port-au-Prince, where they built dwelling places that left them open and vulnerable to the weather, to earthquakes, and of course you'd have heard in the news numerous gang warfares. All of this came about because the agricultural industry was totally destroyed. So we were already facing a nation that was vulnerable in many ways. That was compounded, of course, by that earthquake. Following that, as we were struggling to find resources to meet those needs, Hurricane Ida came upon us. One may not be aware, but the city of Elizabeth and Union County has the largest settlement of Haitians on the East Coast after Florida. Right after Florida and Brooklyn, New Jersey is Elizabeth and surrounding communities. Many of them are immigrants, and they were living in illegal, for want of a better term, apartments. Because of this, they were left out of many of the resources that were being afforded to those who were negatively impacted by Hurricane Ida. Again, the Episcopal Church, through our Haitian ministries, were able to step up. Again, Bishop Chip led the way, and again, parishes were able to rise up. 8 parishes to date, and we have been receiving further calls this afternoon, to date have been able to stand up and say, hey, we want to support the work that is happening, out of which we were able to provide temporary housing here at St. Elizabeth's. We were able to locate apartments for some, vacant apartments for some. We were able to provide 350 care packages that were put together by our youth group, our ECW members, and other members of our faith community. They worked tirelessly to put together at least 350 care packages to be distributed to those who were in desperate need. The donations we have received to date, we have been using those to help pay for apartments, pay for appliances for persons who lost everything, and being able to replenish school supplies for the kids who were desperately in need for such support. Those are some of the ways in which you as a diocese have been on the forefront in the struggle to bring much needed relief and support to Haitians here. Now we are faced with another major crisis, that of the settlement of the migrants who have been struggling on the borders. I don't want to go too much in depth into that. Stan Uran is coming on, and he would be able to better speak to that. But just in a nutshell, I wanted to say how much we have been doing as a parish, how much we have been able to get done through the support of our bishop and through the support of you, the members of the Diocese of New Jersey. The needs are great. The resources are available. All we are asking for is a greater sense of commitment to change and transform the lives of these people. Ken Jones will be sharing with you later on a fantastic offer which we have received, and I do hope that we'll be able to step up to it. But at this time, I will stop here and allow my brother Stan, who has been on the forefront of the leadership of the Haitian community here in New Jersey. Thank you.
Thank you, Father Andy and Father Pierre, for coordinating this, and to the entire Archdiocese of New Jersey and to all who have joined us on this call. Thank you for participating, and thank you for all you have done thus far. I know many of you have donated, many of you have helped, many of you have prayed, more importantly, for Haiti and the Haitian people who have traveled far to come to these shores for a better life. Again, my name is Stanley Neron. I am the co-executive director of New Jersey for Haiti. We are a coalition, and we are supported by the United Way of Greater Union County, who serves as our fiscal agent, which is a 501c3. Anybody who would like to look us up can find us on www.nj4haiti.org. So much have happened, and I'm pretty sure Father Andy, Father Moore has covered a majority of what we have been doing thus far and what happened back in 2010, which led us to 2021 as the efforts continue. This organization was founded on the premises of creating relief and rebuilding efforts for Haiti during the 2010 earthquake, where we had a 7.0 magnitude earthquake that hit Port-au-Prince and killed hundreds of thousands of people and impacted millions of people on that island. Ironically, as it relates to today, what happened at the time back in 2010, there was a huge exodus out of Haiti to go into Central America for a better opportunity. As you know, immigration is law stemming back to the Immigration Act of 1924 and so forth in this country. There have been a lot of disparities, which makes it very difficult for surrounding nations to become a citizen here or even seek asylum here in the United States. There is a serious sense of inequity in immigration policy that needs to be addressed and that we need to revisit as a country. And I'll talk about that a little bit further as we go along. As a result of what happened in 2010, 2021, we have this huge migration here to the Mexico border, which stems from Colombia, Brazil, Chile, Panama City. People have traveled, and a lot has happened along that route. And they've gotten here to the US shores. And unfortunately, what we witnessed on the media, what we saw in the news, the images that we saw in social media was disturbing. It was inhumane, and it was unacceptable. Not only do we work with New Jersey for Haiti, but as an elected official, I am also part of the National Haitian Elected Officials Network, which stems throughout the country. There's about 172 members. We have met with the White House to express our disenchantment with what has taken place at the borders. And since then, a lot of changes have taken place. Father Andy has a document that the National Haitian elected officials have presented to the White House and would like for people to support who care about the situation and who understand the plight of the Haitian people. It's a 13-point platform as to what we're asking the legislators, the White House, or this administration to embark on and to enact immediately. And one of them is an immediate stay for the Haitian people who have come here to America and to stop the deportations. To continue the deportations would be a serious disservice to not only Haiti, but the people who have traveled here. because Haiti is not equipped at this time. As you know, there was several natural disasters, one that recently happened August 14th with the 7.2 earthquake that devastated the southern part of Haiti. And then right before that, July 7th, the president was assassinated, which caused a serious disturbance in the stability of the government. There is not a stable government, not a stable economy. And before all of that, there was an unstable economy, and Haiti is considered to be one of the poorest countries in the Western Hemisphere. So when people are go to school to get educated, they come out with degrees and professions and have no way to apply those skills or to make good with the careers that they've embarked on, be it medicine, be it engineering, be it law, be it what it may, whatever career you embark on. There's very little workforce in Haiti. That is due to the lack of instability in the government and the lack of infrastructure that exists. That does not mean there is no hope, but it does mean that at this current state, it is a humanitarian crisis that I think the global community needs to stand up together and make sure that we address and we reach out and help Haiti, just as we've done with so many other nations. Historically, Haiti has always gotten the lower end of the stick, and there are a lot of thoughts and ideas out there as to how the Haitian immigrants got here, traveling through the southern border and traveling through these Latin American countries. There's a lot of opinions out there, but one thing I can tell you is prior to all of this, every time the Haitian people decide to embark onto these shores, they get turned around and sent right back to the country, as if nothing was going on in Haiti and as if everything is okay in Haiti, and everything is not okay in Haiti. And we're just looking for the Haitian people to have a fair share at asylum like all the other nations do. And currently, we're looking at a situation, and I don't think you can compare any immigration situation to another, but I think the irony of it is currently right now, we have flown in 95,000 Afghan refugees to the United States, and we are making way for them and making an opportunity for them, as we should. But I think that, the same fair treatment should be given to the Haitian community as what we're seeing happen with all other communities, and not just the Afghan community. There's several others that we can mention. But the Haitian community has felt that they have been left out, they have been discriminated against, and they have been treated unfairly. With that being said, there is a 13-point platform that we'd like to present that Father Andy did tell me he would share with the group. So hopefully you get that and you understand what we're looking to accomplish at this point and what can be done. Aside from that, when it comes to the relief efforts that are currently happening, we are helping families down in Texas. We have had a team down in Texas that has been working with a lot of the Haitian families that have come over to get them due process. We have been working with them to get them shelter. We have been working with them to get them transportation. What do I mean by that? Shelter meaning host families that are willing to take them in. We have a huge network of Haitian families willing, and people, period, willing to take in families and until they can seek asylum, until they can get their due process. We have a network of a legal team that is also working with them to make sure that they are being heard and that their voices are being heard and they're not just being turned back. The initial reaction of the Biden administration was to turn them back immediately and send them back to Haiti without any due process, which is considered to be expelled, an expulsion, not a deportation. Deportation would be after you've been through due process, your TPS has expired, which is temporary protection status. You would then get deported because there is no, your stay here has expired, or your visa has expired, or your TPS status has expired. But in this case, they were not even granted that early on. So through advocacy and through a lot of conference calls and Zoom such as this, there has been some changes where the stay was granted, but the deportations continue because there's a lack of communication and a lack of due process taking place appropriately for the people. Currently, right now, we know that there are a lot of families in El Paso. We know there are a lot of families in Houston. We know there are a lot of families in San Antonio. We know that there are a lot of families in Arizona and still in Del Rio, at churches, at hotels, at various venues where they're waiting their day in court or their day to seek representation. And they need help. They need the support and the fundamental basic things that they need, such as sanitary napkins, diapers, toiletries, and funding to be able to either keep them in to get them to some shelter or to get them to transport it to their families. One of the asks that I can put on the table that you may want to consider as a diocese is to see if the network around the country can help in providing shelter. And I don't know the infrastructure, I don't know the setup, but I think those that have the capacity to be able to handle shelters, if they would like to participate in this, this would be a huge help to the movement that's happening right now. And I'll stop there and I'll take questions, or we can kind of navigate from here. But I want to thank everybody again for their time, their efforts, and all that you have done. Again, we have been working around the clock to not only address the earthquake that just took place, and by that I mean we've been providing the necessary medical relief in Haiti, but now we have now embarked on a new endeavor, which is the crisis at the border. So again, thank you. God bless you all, and I hope to be working with all of you very soon.
Thank you, sir. Are you able to be with us the rest of the time, or shall we do your questions now and then let you go?
I have about, I would say, 15 minutes.
Let's do questions now. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Nera?
What is the best way for us to help right now? If we, as a parish or as a church organization?
Well, here in New Jersey, I know that Jefferson Park Ministries is in need of assistance and help. So volunteers that can help put care packages together that can receive the families, because families are coming. So one of the things I didn't mention, families are outside of coming to the southern states or southern cities in Texas. They are sending families to Florida. They are sending families to New Jersey, Boston, and New York, and across the East Coast and around the country. New Jersey is starting to see an influx of Haitian families come here. So they are in need of support and supplies. So I think partnering with Jefferson Park Ministries would be a great opportunity. Jefferson Park Ministries has specialized in social services in the Haitian community, and they have worked on immigration for many years. And in 2010, we worked with the county in doing so. So we do have a meeting coming up with the county to see what additional support services we can get. And we'd love to partner with the diocese to do so, throughout the state and potentially, well, first of all, obviously right here in our own community in Union County. I know we have a great working relationship already. And I know we signed a MOU recently with Jefferson Park Ministries. So I think the partnership is already there. It's just now really redirecting the focus and understanding what we're embarking on when it comes to this particular border crisis situation. And funds, of course, is always needed, because the funds are, again, we have been, purchasing plane tickets. We have been helping to get food. We have been helping to get clothes. We have been helping to, purchase items for people who are in need. So all those things are still a necessity. Hopefully I answered the question.
Thank you, sir.
It's complex, but.
Someone put on the board Episcopal Relief and Development. I spoke with Episcopal Relief and Development. I'll say more about that later on.
And Stan, there has been a call by some in an earlier meeting today for greater political action. I'm
sorry. Did you ask me a question?
I was saying, Stan, that some folks in an earlier meeting this morning have been crying for greater political action, possibly for awareness to be raised in state houses in New Jersey and in Washington. Maybe you can speak a bit about that, please.
Yes, so we this request, Neon's request, the National Haitian American Elected Officials Network request, is going to all the states and is also going to has gone to the White House. These are the necessary requests that we're putting on the table right now. One that I don't see on there, but it sort of ties in, is what's happening with the children. So, you know, when we talk about children, it's a very sensitive topic, but currently children are being deported who are unaccompanied. And along the way, parents may have died, parents may have gotten separated from their children, and there were a lot of unaccompanied minors that were also found at the border. What happened with those, that group, which is children, they were immediately deported or expelled, and they did not get a due process. And we know for a fact that if they go back to Haiti, there are no supportive services there to help them. And I'm not saying that there are no organizations or NGOs in Haiti to help them, but to leave them in the hands of the government is a very sketchy space. And we have been taking a stand trying to help them there with child protection services in Texas and, you know, throughout, you know, making it aware through various states how we can be of assistance and find the necessary families that can either adopt or take in or host the children until they can either be reunited with their families or they are allowed to due process.
Thank you. I think you responded to this earlier, but maybe you want to say one more time about your response and your organization's response to the images that we saw out of Del Rio.
So sure. So the response that we had, again, we've done, and I'll talk a little bit more about this. We've done a lot of press. We held a statewide press conference with all the Haitian elected officials and clergy and people in the community who wanted to take a stand. We did one in East Orange recently, representing the entire state. It's been happening all over the country where press conferences are being held, rallies are being held. And we also met with the White House officials that are dealing with the crises and expressed our disenchantment with what was going on and our denouncement of the inhumane treatment when we saw horses and Border Patrol whipping and mistreating the people at the border. We have never seen images like this before. I'm not aware of these images. I'm not aware of this type of treatment. Now, that's not to say that it never happened, but we never saw them on national media, on YouTube, on social media. You know, this is the very first time a lot of us, and to many people that I've spoken to, have seen something like this. So we've definitely denounced it. And as a result, the White House did the same thing. They have denounced it, and they have also, we called for an investigation in our 13-point plan. They have launched an investigation behind the Border Patrol officials who have allowed for this to happen, and will report back to us shortly to let us know the end result of what has taken place. And moving forward, horse patrol will not be used at the border. And I would say that would be as a result of the advocacy that has taken place. But not only that, the clear images where the world was watching what was taking place, I think that has also changed the process.
Thank you, sir. All righty. Thank you. Thank you so much for being with us. And it's great to have you as a resource for us. Really appreciate it. Good to see you again, sir.
Thank you, Bishop. And thank you to the entire diocese, and especially to Father Moore, and Father Pierre. Thank you for all your advocacy work and all the great work on a regular basis, every day, the humanitarian efforts.
Yeah, I want to say he was thanking me, but he's been doing the lion's share of the work and just getting me to put my attention there with him. So I appreciate Canon Andy, you and Robin Father Robin have been just incredible. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, Brother Chris Mcnabb is with us, representing Episcopal Migration Ministries. So I'm grateful for his time. He's coming to us from the West Coast. Chris is a part of this diocese, came through the process of this diocese. So welcome. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Bishop Chip. And anytime Bishop Chip calls, the answer has to be yes. So happy to be here. I prepared A simple statement related to what we know so far. A big thank you to Mr. Stanley Neron for his work. I learned a few things that I wasn't aware of, so super grateful to you and for your advocacy, as well as the clergy of St. Elizabeth's. So as Bishop Chip mentioned, my name is Chris Mcnabb. I'm the missioner for the Neighbor to Neighbor program, a program of Episcopal Migration Ministries. I understand from Bishop Chip that many people feel the response between Afghans and Haitians has been unequal and thus unfair. And I completely agree. I wish I had better news to share, but I wanted to fill you in a little bit on what the reality we're facing here at EMM. As Mr. Neron mentioned, after 20 years of serving our military in Afghanistan, our country felt a certain loyalty to rescue the Afghans who served alongside our troops, as well as those who'd be in direct danger as a result of the Taliban. As a result, many Afghans were evacuated through a program called Afghan Placement and Assistance. They were brought to our nation through a program more generally known as humanitarian parole, and any Afghan who's not eligible for a special immigrant visa or refugee status will come through the above-mentioned program of humanitarian parole, which will require them to apply for asylum within 2 years. In regards to the Haitians who sought entry at the US-Mexico border, they were victims of a system known as Title 42, which was established under President Trump and continued under President Biden, which in violation of international law and human decency automatically expels anyone who's passed through a country with high rates of COVID. Numerous efforts are in place to pressure President Biden to end Title 42. Yesterday, congregants from our national cathedral took part in a rally at Lafayette Square in the nation's capital, advocating for an end to Title 42 and to call out the poor treatment we witnessed at the border. Additionally, the Episcopal Diocese of West Texas has been coordinating efforts to respond to the humanitarian needs of Haitians at the US-Mexico border. Episcopal Relief and Development has also made contact with the Diocese of West Texas in an attempt to provide financial support. Similarly, the Office of Government Relations of the Episcopal Church has been working on advocating in Washington for more fair treatment of migrants. Episcopal Migration Ministries is a refugee resettlement agency. As a result, we generally work with refugees. Our program working with asylum seekers is very new. It's just me working part-time, and we're currently incredibly overwhelmed with the Afghans arriving. Under the Trump administration, the previous president so significantly cut the number of refugees arriving to our country that the number of affiliate offices who carry out the work of resettlement fell from 31 to 11, meaning we lost 20 resettlement offices, and now the State Department is asking our offices to resettle 1,200 Afghans in a few short months, and it's possible that number is set to go up. I say this not as an excuse, but rather to explain that we are not ignorant to the plight of Haitians, but rather overwhelmed by the number of Afghans. Unfortunately, additionally, we have no power to help the Haitians if Customs and Border Patrol refuses them entry. As Mr. Neron mentioned, there are a number of folks who are entering the country, going through the process, seeking due process. And I just did a quick search here, and according to NBC News, as of 3 hours ago, 4,600 migrants were expelled to Haiti, and approximately 10 to 12,000 remain in the country. This is according to the Department of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas. The camp under the bridge in Del Rio has been completely cleared. So in addition to the items that Mr. Neron mentioned about ways to help folks locally, of course, call your representatives in the White House asking for an end to Title 42. That's the basis upon which the 4,600 Haitians were expelled. If you would like to help asylum seekers, generally, please go to the Episcopal Migration Ministry webpage and request a discernment guide to determine if you feel called to become a neighboring congregation, which allows you to sponsor and support an asylum seeker, some of which are Haitians already in our asylum process. And of course, First Friends is the organization based in, I believe they're in Kearney, New Jersey, who run detention, visitation, and accompaniment programs at Elizabeth Immigration Detention Center and the county jails of North Jersey. I recognize my words fall short amidst the devastating realities we saw unfold at our border, and I wish I had better news. I welcome any questions or comments as time permits.
I see Marshall Shelley has his hand up. Marshall,
Thank
why don't
you.
you go ahead?
Chris, as we strive to sort of tool up in the diocese, am I hearing also that EMM is also tooling up staff effort coordination, or are we kind of? I mean, I appreciate the fact that you guys are working so hard and so fast. Well, you're working so hard on this, but are we better focused if we're saying stay in line and work in the Diocese of New Jersey to welcome, or is there something more we can affect regionally with our contacts and networks?
Yeah, so thanks for the question, Marshall. It's good to see you again. I was on a call this morning with Caroline Carlson, I think is her last name, who is running the Diocese of New Jersey's effort. And so I would say, I know you're on that commission, and thank you for your service. I would say Caroline is kind of our main point of contact, and we're funneling all the information through her in terms of the Afghan situation. In terms of the Haitian situation, you know, I don't want to step on toes here of the organizations already doing work on the ground. Certainly, Mr. Niran has a wonderful expertise there. But generally, if you are interested in working with neighbor to neighbor, the website is the best place to go. And as I mentioned, there are folks already in immigration detention who First Friends has direct contact with. Does that answer your question, or am I misunderstanding?
No, that's direct. And I'm going to defer to Mr. Niran and Canon Moore and Father Robin on getting connections. I think the neighbor thing is something we can all do, and we're close enough to detention centers that we can do something about it.
Absolutely. Yep. Thanks.
Okay, we've got a couple of video presentations. How are we managing those?
I see that Stan Niran has his hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Chris for all the great work that you're doing. And, I completely understand you being overwhelmed, and as we are, and as most people are, because nobody prepared for this. So again, I salute you and thank you for all the great work that you're doing. And, the neighbor to neighbor program would be something that I think that would be efficient and great. And especially if we could establish it in the Texas, the state of Texas, and see if there are dioceses there that would be willing to help. I think that would be an amazing initiative. So again, thank you.
Well, thank you. I'll pop my email in the chat box here for anyone who has follow-up questions.
Yeah, and just to underscore, the Diocese of West Texas is the one that ERD has been directing folks to. They're working with them, and EMM also, as Chris already said, the Diocese of West Texas is on the front lines of that border. And so they've got expertise in there and are doing incredible work. So we're happy to hook you up with them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, video presentations. Who's handling that?
That would be Father Andy and crew.
Okay, I'm going to stop. Do I stop sharing? Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
Father Pierre will take the lead on this. He has been doing some tremendous ministry, and this is an opportunity for him to bring us up to speed on some of his frontline work. Thank you.
Fabulous.
Go ahead, Father.
Yes. Good afternoon to everyone. This is a great opportunity to be with you in this important meeting. I would like to tell you, so I feel sad. I feel angry. I feel upset. But also I feel happy for what I've seen last week in the border of Texas. Feel sad, angry, upset because of so many problems. So we don't finish with one problem, we start another one. Just finish with the assassination of the president. After that, the hurricane, the earthquake, Hilda, and the migrant situation in the border of Texas. And St. Elizabeth, Haitian ministry is the reference. People are in need. People is looking for help. Communities in Haiti is calling us because they are in need, looking for help. And also the same thing, sometimes we don't know what to do, how we can deal with that. But thankfully, we have a great support of the diocese. So many churches are supporting us. They are very concerned about that. So I'm so happy about that. And thank you so much for your help, for your prayers and your support. Since I'm here, in addition of the Haitian ministry, I'm also working with ECS. Also, I'm working with urban revitalization. And also, I would like to say thank you very much to the bishop, to everybody, especially Father Chase, who are opening the door now to go to Asbury Park. There is a possibility to do services for the Haitian community in Asbury Park. Thank you so much.
Father Robin, if I could ask you just really quickly, are there other computers in the same room with you?
Three.
If they could please mute their speakers, we're getting a lot of echo.
And not just mute Zoom, mute the speaker at the computer.
Okay.
Are you trying to get the video working?
Yeah. Yes, we're working on the videos.
Oh, or at least we got the echo taken care of. That's good.
Okay, very good. So we are apologize about the technical difficulties, issues we are facing right now. So probably it's better to move to the next point, and maybe later on we can go back to that.
Father
Okay.
Robin, if you have links to those videos, if you put them in the chat, I can share them.
Do you have links? Is it by way of YouTube? Let's do this. Let's see if you and Steve can do that by way of chat and figure that one out. And in the meantime, I'm going to ask Phyllis to go ahead. We're going to need to end this meeting at 5 minutes to 7. so that we can switch things over for the town hall, for the lay town hall. So we've only got a few more minutes. Phyllis, would you please go?
Sure. Yeah, I'd be happy to. Thank you very much. So we've heard about, some of the work that's going on outside our diocesan borders to be helping to deal with the incredible humanitarian crisis that's happening as a result of all of the terrible things that are happening in Haiti. And so we are blessed as the Episcopal Church to have the ministries of Episcopal Migration Ministry and Episcopal Relief and Development to help us help others outside our local borders. And those are wonderful places to be able to make an impact. But we're also blessed here in the Diocese of New Jersey to have recently launched Episcopal Community Services of the Diocese of New Jersey to help us address similar types of issues here within our diocesan borders. And we've heard about the impact that these crises are having on our Haitian communities right here in New Jersey. We have, as was mentioned, the Elizabeth Detention Center where immigrants are often brought. And we also have, because of the large Haitian community in and around Elizabeth, as well as in and around the Atlantic City area, this is a community that has very, very tight ties with family. And so I was just reading an article in the Associated Press that talked about an immigrant who was following a path that was sent to him via WhatsApp. So, here's how you go, here's where you cross here, here's where you have to watch out for, for Border Patrol, all of those kinds of details, all of that being sent to him by a family member right here in New Jersey. And so we do have, and we are seeing an influx of people into our Haitian communities, because of these crises. And at the same time, a lot of the people who are coming into the communities who are undocumented, especially when we have concomitant crisis here in the form of Hurricane Ida, which displaced Father Robin Pierre, amongst one of many Haitians who were displaced by that storm in that area. They have no recourse. These are not, when they get flooded out of apartments, these are not people who can have recourse to other places to find help. So we also have a lot of opportunity to help here right within the borders of the Diocese of New Jersey. And we have also been blessed with an anonymous donor who has put up $10,000 towards a matching grant opportunity. And so we are launching, as of tomorrow, you'll see go out more information in Good News in the Garden State and also as a separate e-blast. You will see more information about the Haitian ministry going on here in the Diocese of New Jersey. Hopefully we'll also be able to include the links to the videos that Father Robin was talking about. So that we'll be able to see a little bit more about those ministries. And also I'm going to share my screen, and I appreciate Steve putting these links into the chat. Right now, we are already set up on the page for Episcopal Community Services with a Donate Now button right over here. So if you go onto our website, Episcopal Community Services is right here under what we do. If you click there, you'll end up on this page. And once you get to this page, you can hit Donate Now. And you'll see that that we have added the Haitian Refugee Relief Fund. You'll see we also have Afghan, but we've added Haitian to be able to accept donations online. You can also send donations to Episcopal Community Services in care of Diocesan House at 808 West State Street, if you prefer to do it by check. But any of these donations that come in within the next 30-day period, will be matched up to $10,000 by this anonymous donor. So that is a wonderful challenge to all of us here in the Diocese of New Jersey to really be able to make a significant impact, to be able to provide funds to help house Haitian refugees and help the people who are in our own diocesan community. It's a very direct, very local impact, which could be huge. So I just wanted to put that out there and ask you all to please donate to the extent that you can. Please pass this along to your congregations. Please make sure that this message gets out into the pews. That's always our challenge. And so to make sure it gets in your bulletins and get it as far out, spread out as far as possible. So thank you so much.
All righty, thank you so much. I'm so grateful to the person that's making that donation, doing it through ECS. It shows the value of what we can do together. That's fabulous. Okay, I'm going to open it up for a few minutes. As I said, we've got to end by 5 sharp. So, are there anything anyone needs to ask? Concerns, questions, points to make?
Bishop, if I crave your kind indulgence, very, very quickly, we do not have the live, the video as we would have liked. We have it to share and we'll send it after. But very interestingly, 2 of the folks that we had already planned to have interviewed, they just walked in.
Oh, great.
We would love to introduce them to you.
Please do.
All right. So Father Pierre is going to introduce 2 of the folks who he has been doing. Father Pierre will do that right away.
Great.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So with the technical difficulties, no, we cannot send the video right now. But thankfully, we have 2 beautiful women from Haiti. So one of them just arrived less than 1 week. She's here. Another one is a part of Haitian ministry. So I'm going to ask them a couple of questions in live that they can answer. So can you tell us your name and how long have you been in the United States? And where do you live?
My name is Jasmine Binani. I'm Haitian living in East Orange since 2 years. About the Haitian ministry, what I can say, this is a great community helping people in all kinds of needs, like giving food out, school supplies. They even helping in the vaccination for the COVID-19, and then they also have an ESL program for the migrant coming all over. I usually go there. It's very helpful.
Okay, thank you. So I would like to ask you also, so how do you feel about the possibility to worship in Creole? What do you think? How do you feel?
First Creole and Asian, I feel more comfortable about the worship service in Creole that we have here in our community. I also can say that I have a better understanding about what's going on in the church, and I'm also very happy to have the service in our community.
Very good. So next question I would like to show. So do you feel welcome in the Episcopal Church, especially with Father Pierre?
I feel more than welcome because in the Episcopal Church with Father Robin, I can say is a very helpful father, is very encouraging, talented, and is very respectful regarding all church members. We thank God to have him in our community.
Thank you, thank you. So the last question I would like to ask you, how do you feel about the treatment the Haitian received last week in Texas, in the border of Texas?
For me, it was horrible because those migrants, they have been treated as a slave. They've been humiliated. Also, there was, those migrants, they was trying to attend to cause. I felt very sad for my people. For me, they could have been treated better. Because after all that happened, earthquake, storms, and all that, they should have get a better treatment than that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So I'm going to let you listen to another one. She just arrived. She gets about a couple of days, less than 1 week.
Needs to be very short, please, because we're at our time, and I got another meeting.
Yeah, very short, very short. Just
Bonjour, bonsoir.
She's going to express in Creole. So,
bon, merci.
Ok, moi c'est Martine Joseph. Moi, arrivé dans le pays la semaine qui s'est passée. Ok, moi habité Elisabeth. Moi, je pense que c'est une belle initiative et au plan, les ministère là, un ministère haïtien dans la communauté New Jersey.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah, she just said that she just arrived. She's about 6 days here. She lives in Elizabeth. And she thinks the initiative to get Haitian ministry is a good thing.
Bon. Merci. Okay, friends.
Thank you, Bishop, for your kind indulgence.
Thank you. No, it was wonderful to see them and hear from them. And I'm so grateful again to all you at St. Elizabeth's are doing. You represent us so well and are us there. So thank you for that. You absolutely bless us. We are going to continue this conversation and I would like people to please quickly in the chat, if you're interested in participating more in a task force or whatever, put your email addresses in the chat right now so that we can follow through with you. And Father Andy, if I could ask you to close us in prayer, that would be a wonderful thing, please.
Sure. The Lord be with you. Let us pray, oh God. We thank you for sending your son, Jesus. We thank you, God, for Jesus coming in the way that he did to experience life even as an immigrant while in Egypt, to bring, oh God, healing and wholeness to your broken world. We thank you, God, for this faith community of the Diocese of New Jersey. We thank you, God, for its collective wisdom, its collective generosity. We thank you, God, for the leadership of Bishop Chip and his staff. Guide us, O God, in all our deliberations. We thank you, God, for raising up these your people. May their voices be heard, may their hands be lifted, may their feet be moved, all to build your kingdom with love, diversity, and truth. All this we ask in Jesus' precious name. Amen.
God bless you. Thank you so very much.
Amen.
Thank you all for participating.
Thank you.
We're going to end this quickly so we can get over to the late town hall. God bless you.